Ah, that beautiful graphic.
It's like my internet's in its 40s. Well, Diddy has been sentenced, so that means we get this puff date. And by now, everybody knows that Diddy was sentenced to 50 months in prison. Now, I believe 14 of those counts as time served. So he kind of gets like 36. And despite apologizing to his victims and telling the judge, people can change, and I know I've changed. These courtroom sketches show Diddy dabbling his eyes and his look of shock at the sentence. Check out these courtroom sketches. And then there was an 11-minute video on his impact in his loved ones' lives, and each of his kids tearfully spoke on his behalf. Quincy said, "Our father will never do anything to jeopardize his freedom. We only wish to heal together." Justice said, "My father's my superhero. Seeing him broken down and stripped of everything is something I will never forget." And Christian said, "My entire life, I studied my dad up and down. To me, my dad is the greatest man in the world." And Chance said, "We're still just daughters who need our father." Delilah said, "We're scared for our 2-year-old little sister that runs to us every night asking where daddy is." And then Jesse said, "We aren't here to excuse any of those mistakes, but Your Honor, he is still our dad and we still need him present in our lives."
I'm not surprised by any of the kids' statements. I feel like of course this is what kids are going to say. And and again, he didn't do anything bad to these kids, so their experience with him is going to be different than Cassie's experience. Obviously, her lawyer's a guy named Doug Wigder. He made a statement on the sentence, and he said, "While nothing can undo the trauma caused by Combs, the sentence imposed today recognizes the impact of the serious offenses he committed." And he continued, "We are confident that with the support of her family and friends, Miss Ventura will continue healing, knowing that her bravery and fortitude have been an inspiration to so many." The thing that was so interesting to me, and I don't know if we can go back to those court drawings. I don't know if we can get those back, but a lot of it was like the surprise that he seemed to be experiencing in the courtroom sketches, because evidently he had booked speaking engagements. Like, he genuinely thought he was about to walk out of there.
It's really,
Yeah.
I can see that making the judge that impacting the sentence, like the arrogance of thinking I'm in prison right now, or I'm in jail, and I'm gonna book some appearances and parties, some in the club for next week because I'm that confident I'm getting out. That would irritate me if I was a judge.
It shows a level of cockiness.
Mm-hmm. It's also interesting. Sorry for the delay. It's also interesting that, of course, the statements by the children were very touching and all that, but how someone could be a totally different person to different people, depending, when you hear about a man being abusive and then his friends will come out and say, "Oh, I can't see him doing that. He's the nicest guy ever." But people can be different things to different people. Yes, he's cool to you, but then a demon to a woman he's maybe dating or whatever. It's amazing how people can have just so many different personalities or aspects of their personalities.
But one of the things I had issue with, right, which I feel like is not fair. Granted, I feel like the punishment for this particular crime is a little harsh. The things that he was not brought to court for, that he was not punished for, probably matched this punishment and some other things, right? And the irony of the guy who called the sex worker to do a job is going to prison. Meanwhile, they're interviewing the sex worker who did the job. He's the person who's doing the illegal thing. It's crazy that one person is in prison and not a few people. And I understand Cassie cooperated and helped build their case. But even on the flip side, she low-key owes him a refund for the money that he gave her to not hey, make this all go away, or hey, we're gonna settle. He paid her the settlement money and she still took the stand. And I'm not saying what he did was right.
Yeah, we've talked about this in the past, where it's like they were prosecuting him not necessarily for the things that he was charged with. That's what we were talking about like a year ago, where it was like kind of a character assassination trial, and a lot of this didn't make him look very good at all. But the things that he was on trial for, it's terrible. But he was not on trial for the video of what happened and what he did to Cassie in that hallway, that video that we all saw. wasn't what he was on trial for. He was on trial for a couple other things. HK, you mentioned it earlier. He's already he spent 14 months in jail already now, so it's looking like that's 36 months left. Because you get time served on the sentence. And then a lot of people are saying that like you can serve like 85% of it, and then like if you're in good behavior, you can get some of this stuff knocked down. And so what they're saying is that he could wind up serving just an additional like 2.5 years about that. And so if Diddy is going to walk, which at some point he is going to walk out of there, he could be walking out by just before summer in 2028. So I'm sure he'll have something to say about it then.
This case reminds me of O.J. Simpson when he got away. You know, he was acquitted of the double homicides, but then years later, when he was sentenced for stealing back his own memorabilia, the sentence was really harsh because it's like we all knew what it was. Like, well, a lot of people, you know, believe that he was guilty of that, so they didn't get him on that one. But do you guys believe in, you know, just justice no matter what by any means necessary? Like, yeah, he wasn't brought up on those charges, the abuse of casting his case, but they found a way to get justice. I guess if you're the victim, you're like, F it, whatever. But if you're not, you're like, well, the law says this isn't really the way. How do y'all feel about this?
I mean, they say the law is blind, right? But karma is undefeated. You know, God sees all things. You know what I'm saying? If you subscribe to that, I know I definitely do. And like, just because you got away with one thing don't mean you're going to get away with everything. And, you know, and I think that's kind of what it is. And it like, sometimes I have to compartmentalize my brain on that because I do feel like the scales of justice are sometimes weighed against us as, you know, as people of color. But, you know, on the flip side of that, though, people who know some of the behind the scenes things that we don't get to talk about in tabloids know about some of the things that, you know, he's been adjacent to that didn't bring him to trial, you know?
Listen, there is a worst kept industry secret that this man allegedly has had his hands on a lot of ill doings, bad stuff in the business that maybe people can't prove it, but people are whispering about it. This has been going on for a good 20 years. So, you know, maybe this is a thing about karma, unfortunately. Well,